New cell phone video has emerged showing a 25-year-old Georgia man shot and killed after two armed men chased him down. His family claims he was just out jogging and are now calling the killing a hate crime. NBC's Kate Snow has the story and a warning for you. The video you are about to see is graphic.
In the video leaked on social media, 25-year-old African-American Ahmaud Arbery is seen running on a Sunday afternoon in February in southern Georgia. As he approaches a pickup truck ahead, Arbery swerves. Gregory McMichael and his son Travis, who are white, were both armed. Travis fires a shotgun and kills Arbery. In a police report that day, Gregory McMichael, a former police officer who worked for the local DA's office, said he saw someone he thought was the suspect in recent break-ins in the neighborhood, hauling ass down the street. He and his son attempted to intercept him, thinking he could be armed. McMichael also said Arbery began to violently attack Travis, and Travis fired just 2 shots. But 3 shots are heard on the video. An attorney for Arbery's family says he was unarmed and there is no evidence to suggest Arbery was committing a crime. Arbery's mother says her son was just out for a jog.
It really breaks my heart. He didn't know that he was in the last minutes of his life.
She and supporters of the family have been demanding justice. 2 prosecutors recused themselves from the case over potential conflicts of interest. One writing he thought the McMichaels' actions were perfectly legal and they were acting in self-defense in the skirmish over the gun. On Tuesday, the DA, now responsible, called for a grand jury to consider criminal charges. But because of coronavirus closures, that can't happen until June.
And there's nothing preventing law enforcement from arresting these men other than their lack of desire to arrest these men.
Why do you think they lack a desire?
Because of the close law enforcement ties to this community, and they're protected by their whiteness.
The Georgia Bureau of Investigation's now on the case. NBC News has been unable to reach the McMichaels. This Friday would have been Arbery's 26th birthday.
Just to hear his laugh and just to see his smile, I mean, that's gone forever.
Kate Snow, NBC News.
Let's bring in the host of MSNBC's Politics Nations, president of the National Action Network, Reverend Al Sharpton. Reverend, I looked at the video. I'm sorry, I'm confused. It looked like he was jogging, and he got shot. Am I missing something? Are there other angles of this video that show something else?
Absolutely.
The guy's jogging. By the way, if he's breaking into houses, I don't think he's going to be. He wasn't, quote, hauling ass. It looked like a leisurely jog down a main street in a well-lit, like in the middle of the day.
You know, a couple of weeks ago when National Action Network and I got involved, we had not heard of the case, and we knew the lawyer, Jeff Merritt, when he reached out. And when we were told the story and looked into it, we decided to get involved. I had Jeff Merritt, the attorney, and the mother on Politics Nation on Sunday night. And then the video came out after, midweek, and it vindicated everything that they said. The video clearly shows.
So, Rev, what do we see in that video? Because it looks like he's jogging down the street. These guys are in the pickup truck. He jogs around the pickup truck, and then you hear 3 shots. What have you seen by looking at this video that we may have missed the first time?
There's nothing that we've seen, and as you know, Joe, there's probable cause there to make an arrest. If it was the other way around, if it had been someone shot that was blacks had got out of a truck, stopped a jogger, white, many of us feel there would have been arrest right away because there's probable cause, and they would have told the black assailants, tell it to the judge. Well, that's what they ought to say to this man and his son. Tell your story to the judge, because that video clearly says that you would no cause, no self-defense, shot and killed a man that was merely jogging while black. This is outrageous, and I think that it demands an arrest immediately today. His birthday's tomorrow. We couldn't think of a more appropriate way to make sure that this mother, who's going to Mother's Day without her son and father, deal with the fact that at least there's a step toward justice with an arrest. An arrest is not a conviction. An arrest starts a process. But to not even start the process is blatantly disregarding the law in favor of this man who ought to know better since he was on law enforcement for 30 years.
Willie, this looks an awful lot like George Zimmerman deciding to be neighborhood patrol, be judge, jury, and executioner at the same time when he shot down Trayvon because Trayvon had some Skittles in his pocket.
Yeah, I had the same thought as I watched this, and obviously we want to know a lot more, and there should be an investigation that goes deeper into this. This happened back in February, as Rev pointed out, and we're now into May. Rev, we need some more answers on this, but it does appear as you watch that horrifying video, and we only showed you a part of it there, that these two men deputized themselves, saw someone they thought looked like the suspect in a robbery jogging down the street, and then the claim of self-defense here is a man who, these two guys who initiated this confrontation, then defending themselves as the young man is attempting to defend himself, if that makes any sense.
Well, and you'd have to ask yourself, how do they deputize themselves as saying he looks like someone that was breaking in unless it's some racial identity? So, again, we're calling for the arrest tomorrow on this young man's birthday. We're having a virtual rally since we couldn't call a national rally as we did to Trayvon. We're having a virtual rally on Facebook Live at National Action Network's page at 6 p.m. Eastern. The mother and father and their lawyers will be with us. And I want to salute Joe Biden, the former vice president, presumptive Democratic nominee, put out a strong statement calling for justice, saying this video made it unclear. And I think he should be given credit for saying that, the only national leader that has come out saying that.
What about Donald Trump? Has Donald Trump come out condemning the shooting of a black man jogging down the middle of the street in the afternoon? Has anybody in the administration, as the Justice Department, come out and condemned this shooting in broad daylight?
Donald Trump has said nothing, despite the fact that we just heard in your earlier segment he wants black men to vote for him or stay home. Well, here's a black man shot in cold blood, Mr. President. You can't have laryngitis right now. Your opponent has come out with no prompting. Where are you? You have something to say about everything, Mr. Trump. Where are you here? Where is your Justice Department? What we've heard from Donald Trump, well, I'll say it in the language of Fifth Avenue, where he has Trump Towers. Crickets. That's what we've heard from Donald Trump.
All right, Reverend Al Sharpton, keep us posted, please.
Thank you, Rev.
On
Keep
this.
us updated.
Thank you very, very much.
Thanks for checking out MSNBC on YouTube, and make sure you subscribe to stay up to date on the day's biggest stories. And you can click on any of the videos around us to watch more from Morning Joe and MSNBC. Thanks so much for watching.